future of my political career. So, you see, in political strategy, we believe that as you move into an election, you are creating some level of favorable image for yourself and for your party. And so you cannot just mount a political platform and in the spirit of probably energizing your base, you say things that probably would dent your own political image and the image of your own political party. So the key thing here is that as you think of strategy, you must understand that in the interest of your party, not you alone, in the interest of your party, in the interest of your nation, all right, where do you place your communications? Because, you see, in politics, everything that you say comes back to
I don't understand. You are saying that Abua Kwasia, some of those strong, very defensive, adversarial posture and then revolutionary antics would not work in the current times.
That is exactly the point, because you see that when you check the demographics, I mean, now we are having more educated youth and who are able to, you know, differentiate between what is good and what is bad. Now, it is not about political hooliganism, all right? It is about rational voters. So when we have educated population, their sense of voting is dependent on their personal experiences and what they term as good and bad, i.e. their perception. All right. So if you are a political leader and you feel that you would stick to the 1992, 1996, 2000 forms of campaigning where, you know, you can say anything at all and go scot-free, these days it doesn't happen like that.
Buga buga.
Yes, buga buga doesn't work. People now will pick the content of your message, analyze it, and make an informed decision out of it. So you must understand the point that it is not about the things that you are saying that will make people, you know, get attracted to you. It is about the rationale behind what you are saying, the sense, you know, the agenda that you are probably pushing, you know, that will determine that this critical mass of people will follow you. And that is very, very important. If you have watched or studied the 2024 elections, all right, obviously there was a clear distinction between arrogance and between development. And that is how the nation is going. So if you are a political leader, you must now begin to revise your notes and think of an agenda that will make you attractive and your party very much attractive.
So is that the posture now? For example, there's been a vigil. Is it the Blekuma North NDC also saying they want the Electoral Commission do a rerun in some of the areas, etc.? So is it that because the posture is, because you are a very cool guy, cool, so that kind of thing, and so is it that in the conversation and the narrative, now the posture is about what the people want than the boisterous kind of behavior and character that we put up?
I think I agree with him to a very large extent, but for me, I think that it is not a recent development, especially when it comes to the politics of the National Democratic Congress. We've demonstrated that since, I think, 2000 and even events preceding 2009. You remember that one of the major challenges that we had to confront as a political party was largely the personality of His Excellency late President Mills, and to a very large extent President John Dramani Mahama, because there was a sharp breakaway from the revolutionary politicking that we were used to since '92. And even our founder found it a bit difficult to contain as far as the politics of the NDC was concerned. And a teeming number of our supporters had issues with President Mills's declaration of Father for All and subsequently his reflection under the John Dramani Mahama presidency. And you agree with me that these gentlemen demonstrated leadership, responsibility, and commitment to the fundamental principles of our republic. They understood that political leadership was a responsibility entrusted on you, not just by your political party, but the entirety of Ghanaians, and one needed to reflect that. And so that is the essence of leadership Doc spoke about. There was the need for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama and the late Mills to demonstrate a sense of a new form of leadership, and they did. They responded to that challenge. Subsequently, even when President Mahama lost the 2016 presidency, he still maintained that posture, discharged himself as a gentleman, and did so with utmost reverence to our laws of the Republic, and most importantly, to decency in political communication. Unfortunately, we did not get that from the other side of the political divide. And I think that my good brother and senior did an excellent job in presenting the NPP as it was, especially under Nana Addo. And so I indicated from the onset that they seem not to be breaking away from that past. But the NDC broke away from that past ages ago. And we are championing a new course of responsible leadership. What they are doing in Parliament, you know we have the numbers to contain it. But we understand that even in responding, we must be responsible in our response, because it has dire consequences for not just our imaging, but to a very large extent, even how we attract foreign direct investments into our country. And we made a campaign promise to the good people of this country to reset our economy, and most importantly, to create jobs for the teeming unemployed youth. So we understand the kind of responsibility that is on our president. And we are committed to developing in a way that can open up job opportunities. But you see, Roland, finally, Doc, you made a point about a change in narrative in terms of the youth, most of them being educated. And for me, that is the danger.
And what he said was for across board, right?
Yes, for across board. And for me, that is the danger. I think that we seem to be giving ourselves accolades that I simply doubt if we have achieved.
How so?
Let me give you an example. The danger is that we may have created teeming youth out there. But you see, these guys we are creating, they are fueled with anger. Many of them, if you want to focus on their educational achievements, you may be missing the picture. What is driving them to attain those educational qualifications is not an appetite for education. Now it has become a way to engage themselves because our nation is unable to create jobs for them. So even after their first degree, they jump to do masters, and if you like, PhDs
because
and stuff like that. Because they are idle. But in terms of real life experiences, they don't have it. The university spirit of boyism can still be found in them. And that is why the likes of Arnaud Dompré seem to be exhibiting what they are exhibiting. Because,
or maybe he's doing that because he's a politician.
Not really. For most of them, after university, they've had the opportunity to serve in our parliament. And so to them, it's politics, student politics as usual. We all did it. I served as a former president of the National Union of Ghana Students. Those days, what used to catch or secure to get the attention of the Ghanaian people or the students was simply how radical you were. So that was what defined our politics. And up till date, it seemed to be the definition of our politics, even in our tertiary institutions. So if you are not careful, if you don't understand or appreciate the essence of transitions, and you still go into national governance with that radical tendency, you are likely to engage in such irresponsible conduct. And the fact that the gentleman, Arnaud Dompré, fails to draw that distinction between student activism, because I understand that he's also a former NUX president or something like that. The fact that he fails to draw that distinction between student politics and radicalism and national responsive leadership as a member of parliament should be a source of concern to all of us. And we have to look at our teeming youth again. Because you see, he's not just being a bad example, he's actually emboldening their perceptions of leadership, because that is what they come out with. And because of how we have run this country, they are not given real-life experiences to engage, either with our civil services or our public services, to learn responsibility from our senior citizens. So for many of us, the time has come for once again for us to engage in that national discourse. And this is the opportune time, because you have a president who listens. You have a president who understands that he has a legacy to leave behind. You have a president who respects all shades of political opinion, irrespective of where it is coming from. So if we miss the opportunity to have that discourse and to reorient ourselves, especially those in the NPP, then lo and behold,
it has to be for NDC as well, so that everybody is in there.
No, you see,
bad behavior is learned by everybody.
It is, but you agree with me. That is why I gave you that trajectory of history that at least we have demonstrated progress. We have demonstrated commitment to move on away from radical tendencies of politics. And we have set that example for over a decade now. It is only proper for the MPP, who seem to have been led over the last decade by someone who claimed to be a Democrat, but unfortunately, even the life of his presidency demonstrates nothing short of what was the word to use on him, because now he's a former president for that matter. But my brother, Roland, the point is the MPP must understand that there's a change, there's the need for us to respect each other in this political discourse, and that the task of building this country, we may have won the last election, but the task of building this country is more important than galvanizing political support. Politics is over. We must come together to build this country peacefully.
Knowing that these are the outside parliament comments and then also posture, and then that also is reflective of the same posture in parliament, what does it foretell? What are the consequences, Lawyer Pierre Dankwa? And what should we do to depart from that? Consequences and what we should do.
So the major consequence is what it does to the political culture. You understand? Because you see, my two brothers here spoke about leadership. If there's one thing history has taught me, is that proper leadership is leadership that alters the mindset of the people. Proper leadership, the leadership that changes the culture of the people. And I can give you a number of examples. So when you take the example of right now the greatest nation on this earth, the USA. You see, one thing that history teaches us that the people who left the UK, Ireland, Europe, you understand, and created the greatest nation on this earth were not the aristocrats. They were not the top of society. They were the people who were the lowest portion of that society. So the question is that what strength of mind did they have to create a country where they believe in, they say, that the American dream. They can go there and then transform, you understand? You take Australia. Australia was an island down under, made up of, or where the British took people, criminals, is essentially. Now, what happened? That these people have managed to transform themselves to one of the best countries in this world. Yeah. And in all these examples, it's a matter of leadership. In Africa, you can point to Rwanda. You understand? That within less than a generation after one of the most brutal genocides, Rwanda has managed to change the face of their country. And in all these countries, it's leadership. So they had leaders who managed to find a way of altering, of changing, of transforming the mindset, the culture of the people. Now, in Ghana, you see, we need to find a structure, a way of finding that kind of leadership. You understand? Especially when we have agreed that within the framework that we want to use to govern, to secure for ourselves the prosperity of liberty, equality of opportunity, and prosperity for all the citizens, the parties need to play a major role. So the parties must reflect that right culture, that right spirit, the right principles, the right values, and ensure that people who do not reflect those values and principles, people who do not reflect the values and principles of Ghana, of progress, do not find themselves not only to become MPs, but leaders of parliament. You understand? So it boils down to a question of leadership. Where we are building a nation. You see, also, when you go, and there's something sad that I've always been saying, we tend to play the game of politics. And you mean
the game of politicking?
Yeah. There was, for the politician, it's a game, you understand? And they will make reference, when you go to America, they also play a game. But in America, the people who stayed in America for the first century of their country built the institutions of their state. Indeed, after the Second World War, and the Second World War, you need to understand, the Second World War also came on the back of the Great Depression. So for close to 15, 20 years, the economy of America and Europe was at a standstill. But they took the vision of President Dwight Eisenhower to introduce what they call the Small Business Act. which then created a small business agency and then led to the exponential growth of the economy of America.
So you're saying we're having a leadership deficit?
No, because we should be the generation that builds, puts in place the right structures of this country that will engender that transformation. And we are failing. And we are failing because of a radical and fundamental failure of leadership. Because we don't seem to value principles, ideals. You understand? And like my brother, so I don't represent essentially is acting like a Peter Pan of politics. He has refused to grow. He's still doing Chobwe. He was very gentle. But what is he still Chobwe politics? Chobwe! There's a boy. You see, we need to understand that we are doing among yourself. We are building a nation. And to build a nation means that one, you grant leadership that one alters, change mindsets, creates the right culture, but also you build institutions that will facilitate the rapid transformation of our country and of our people. You understand? And we need to create a robust political party. We need to find a way with the people. Well, I think our constitution says that political power emanates from us. And people who use those powers must use those powers for our benefit. You understand? So we need to find a way of forcing, if it means we'll punish some political parties who depart from the values, principles, agendas of the country. Hey. We need to punish them. We need to punish them by ensuring that, yes, we need to punish them. Because what do they want? They just want power, but they don't want to work. So it's the power they want. That's what they want. We make sure that they are far away from, please let me know on this point, that they are far away from power. They are far away from power. Then all the other actors in the political space will learn that, listen, the people of Ghana, they don't play. That if you show to them that you do not want to grant leadership that reflects our values and our common agenda, they'll make sure that you are far away from power. We need to build this country. And the responsibility, you understand, lies on all of us to end. I want to quote John Bernard Shaw, where it says that what freedom or independence comes with what? Responsibility. You understand? Immediately we celebrate 6th March, and 6th March will come very soon. But when we are celebrating Independence Day, we must think about the responsibility of building our country. That responsibility lies on each and every one of us to ensure that we manage to build the right nation that will secure not just for ourselves, but also for prosperity, the benefits of this democracy. And that's clearly, and that agenda clearly is being fought against by the New Patriotic Party.
Well, some of you say that you can't make those conclusions. It depends on which side of the politics.
And we must punish them.
So, Dr. Tutu Boahin, at the end of the day, there's an ad hoc committee set to investigate all the things that have transpired publicly, particularly just within the proceedings of the appointment committee. The minority have clearly given every indication that they would not appear or will recuse themselves. Of course, the sittings are supposed to start today. Do you think such posture tends to mar further whatever is being sought to be able to create a politics of a less animosity or atmosphere so that we are more civil in the way we undertake the politics in Parliament and generally?
Yes, I think that parliamentary proceedings, basically is the reasons why we select our parliamentarians. And so if you are going to absent yourself, probably because of some political, disagreements between the two parties in Parliament, then obviously you are doing your own constituency and the entire nation a kind of disservice. Politics or democracy is about disagreeing to agree. And so at a point in time when there is an issue, you are free to express your disagreements, but not to say that I am, taking myself or pushing away from this particular, discourse. And I think that that is going to be, a loss to the country. Why wouldn't you go in there and then make a very strong point to defend your position, which of course, obviously your teaming, supporters will be out there watching, listening, and probably whatever you want them to, the kind of perception you want them to develop about your, strength in Parliament will still come. But obviously, if you are going to if you are not going to attend that particular proceedings, then what is going to happen? Are you communicating some level of weakness, to your supporters, or you are communicating strength, to the party that you are opposing? For me, I think that this kind of political, game shouldn't be played at this level. We've seen these things time and again, where I think somewhere in 2018, a similar thing happened. I think that it's a nation that we are building. We have elected you, whether majority or minority, into parliament, to do justice to the bills that come before you, to do justice to the proceedings that come before you. And I think that you don't have any excuse. I mean, if you are running your own business and then somebody, an employee comes and say that I am not coming to the office today, how would you take it? Okay. All right. But, okay.
A considered view could be that the behavior of, if it's lawyer Penyo Markin, the minority leader, member of parliament, and then the others as well, who are leading the MPP front in parliament, could be a reflection of how the rank and file of the party want them to behave. Could that be a possibility?
I don't think so. It is not about what the supporters, I don't believe that the supporters of the MPP may want, the leadership in parliament to behave negatively to their own expectations. I don't think so.
Do you get that feeling that that's not what they want?
For me,
because I'm tempted to ask, how do you come to those conclusions?
If I am drawing on what lawyer earlier on said, the departure, is actually not a departure of the values of the voters or the supporters of the MPP, but the departure is a departure of certain values, from on the part of the leadership. All right. So the expectations of the MPP supporters still remain, because it is a class of people who believe in certain ideologies, believe in certain principles and values, and that is why they probably decided to join the MPP. All right. And the same thing plays for the NDC. But if leadership is coming with certain postures which are not consistent with the values of the party itself, then obviously there's a departure between your
You don't think their behavior is a reflection of the values?
Exactly. I don't think so.
How do you know that?
Yes. So per the definition of the MPP own ideology and its traction of supporters, you get to understand that these are growing up. I knew that the MPP was an elite party, right? So you get some level of rational people following the MPP to that extent. So you see that class of people still remain, and they probably might not have departed from their beliefs and values and all that. So if the leadership have changed and the leadership is pushing a new agenda, then of course what it means is that they now must go and attract a new group of supporters. It's just like marketing, all right? When you move into a new territory, you develop product or even the same product that probably would target a certain class of people within that new market. So that is how it works. So what I believe is that the leadership probably would have to act consistently with the values of the party and with the values of the supporters, so that at least they will know that they are meeting the expectations of their supporters and not digressing from the party's culture and values.
Yeah, I understand the marketing bit, where KFC will come and be doing jollof, whilst they may not do it, because we love jollof.
Yes.
So if you do some fried rice that we don't like, we'll not buy it, for example.
Yes.
But so Hino, we've come to the point where, in relation to our governance, we've had, you wanted to, okay, so just wait for that. Let me ask the question first. So we've come to the point where, so Hino, we've gotten to the point where the Democracy Hub, who foremostly over the last, I have to say 3 years, have been very dominant, of course, started by the pressure group activities of Oliver Baka-Vormawor, putting a lot of pressure on government, even still continuing up to today, based on the court case that had been before the court, and of course spearheaded by the Attorney General, it means the state certainly, now have been given some level of pardons or because there's a certain discontinuation of the case. Initially they said they would not agree, etc. But the question then will be, is the Attorney General right to say that a discontinuation should be the order of the day?
I think that the question of being right or wrong, I understand it to be a political question, but in terms of the legal tenets of our country, I think that the Attorney General is clothed with the legal authority to decide either to withdraw a case or file a nolle prosequi. So yes, it is within the legal right of the Attorney General to exercise. And so if you are asking in relation to our laws as a country, I would not hesitate in saying that the Attorney General was right in exercising that right. But even taking a look at the political sphere, he is again clothed with the political right to exercise the power that he has exercised. I say so because clearly the National Democratic Congress in opposition indicated its difficulty with that particular prosecution and made promises to the effect that if they were in charge, their approach to those demonstrations and the fallout of the demonstrations would have been entirely different. And so to have an Attorney General of the National Democratic Congress that is now in government exercising a political right, at least in conjunction with that legal responsibility, in line with what they promised, I think that is something within the right of the NDC to do and the government to do. And I respect that particular decision. Because I personally had my issues with the way they were handled under the Swall administration. And so for me, I do not think that people should be criminalized, largely because they are expressing certain views that government considers uncomfortable or politically disadvantageous to them. What they did was simply to organize themselves as Ghanaians with constitutional rights to embark on demonstration, to call on the collective conscience of this country to take action as far as Galamsey was concerned. So it was within their rights to do so. But unfortunately, there were fallouts. And any responsible government would have handled it differently. I'm happy that under His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, we have actually given force to that promise. And we are proceeding on that tangent. But again, I have read their concerns about the need for compensation and stuff like that. I think that this country, we seem not to have that culture of compensation. The door is still not shut on them, though. If they really mean their words, my advice to them would be for, first of all, for them to petition either the Attorney General or His Excellency the President and make a case for compensation. I say that we don't have that culture of compensation because even if you look at the deaths that we recorded in the 2020 elections, we are yet to compensate them. That is why the NDC under His Excellency President Mahama indicated in opposition that we were going to look into these issues and pay appropriate compensation. Even the West Wagon by-election challenges. We are yet to compensate these people. This state must begin to look at the legal aspect of compensation and take it seriously. Because as a democracy that is on a trajectory of progress, it is expected that in terms of our decisions, we may not get all of it right. So there is a need for us to have a machinery in place to compensate for our excesses in rolling out our democratic policies. So for me, this is an opportune time to have that discussion. Let us make our compensation systems work. Let us get around it to activate it once more. It is not enough for us to dabble in issues of malicious prosecution. This is a long legal battle to do. But the state in its own must have that architecture of compensation where we exercise state power in excess of what we are supposed to do. Those affected should naturally be compensated. I have read that they are also raising issues of molestation when they were held at either the National Security or the police, what's the name, CID head office. But then again, a petition, well written, with evidence, will support government to take any decision that would inure to their benefit, and to a very large extent, to the benefit of the Republic. So, Roland, yes, thankfully, that is another beautiful thing about change. Today, we are having this discussion because there's a change of government, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is president. In the not too distant past, we wouldn't have been able to have these discussions, because even then, we were running simply for them to be released from police custody. We did not have the luxury of time to be discussing or having issues of compensation and stuff like that. That is the beauty of change. And that is why many of us campaigned for that change. And we were confident that an NDC government led by not just anybody, but His Excellency John Dramani Mahama was a person or the leader to bring about that positive change. And today I am proud as a member of the National Democratic Congress and someone who campaigned on a ticket of change, that indeed he's living up to the expectations of the Ghanaian people. And I have said that his legacy would mean a lot to many of us. And that is why these steps must be commended. And if he's listening to the appeal of the Democratic Hub, I think that his legal advisor, Honorable Maretta Briopong, must begin engagement with the Democracy Hub. Let us see how we can guide them to at least present a workable petition that the state can act on, to look at police brutalities, because it's not the first time we are dealing with issues of police brutalities. It has always been.
There have been instances where even police vehicles have run into buildings, maimed people, and
they are not compensated.
There have been shooting incidents.
Yes, and you see, and we have had situations where politically they deliberately keep people for more than the 48-hour window.
Yeah.
You see, so these are issues we should have. And I think that a petition would open the Pandora's box for us to agree on how to proceed, especially when it comes to police brutalities. Okay. So, my brother.
So, where do we go from here? It means, well, there will always be protests, right? At the end of the day, it also means that, well, that atmosphere needs to be created. The Constitution makes room for that. Article 21 excessively also says that you can't congregate and take part in some of these demonstrations. So, whereas people's rights, the way they were abused, so to speak, but then there were some excesses when they were exercising those rights within that context. We have to put all those into perspective in relation to this matter. Is that not the case?
I agree absolutely with my brother. And for me, I see opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to really look at our justice institutional architecture. I think that there has been a debate that has been raging whether or not we should segregate the Ministry of Justice from the Ministry of from the Attorney General's office. The fact that we are trying to find as in the right process, the right procedure in which these wrongs can be compensated, and the fact that we need to find new paradigm in terms of these kinds of compensations are concerned. I think it's an opportunity for us as a people to really take a look, to review our justice delivery architecture and to find a permanent answer to that raging debate. Should we continue to have the Ministry of Justice and the Office of Attorney General co-joined, or should there be a segregation? And I think with how things are going, with everything that is happening on, with as far as the focus of our constitution is concerned, even indeed in the motto, for want of a better word, of the country, freedom and justice. And I think that there's an opportunity that we must not bypass. And let's use the opportunity to strengthen and entrench our justice architecture to the benefit of the people of Ghana, so that what happened, where people were fighting for the environment, fighting to the evils, you understand, that obviously would lead to, or could lead to threats which were existential in nature. And having undertaken this noble and patriotic act, you understand, they having been treated in the manner they were treated, obviously then they must be compensated. But it's an opportunity for us to create the right institutions and architecture for them.
And the protests will happen. They always do, right? In what atmosphere should the states and its justiciable powers be accommodating to some of them?
As I think that in the first place, as you said, protests, as long as we are practicing, democracy, and it is about politics, protests will continue, because obviously people will exercise, their freedom, And I think that it is something that is good for our country and our young democracy, because if you want to develop, obviously we must come up with some of these things. And it is not as it is. Protest for me, I don't think that it is a demonstration of one's dislike for a political party or an incumbent party, but it is probably a channel through which people can register their displeasure on certain things, so that if the government can pick it up and then take it in good faith and listen, have some meaningful dialogue, engagement with the protesters, all right, then of course you get to know where you are going wrong. Then if there is anything that you have to learn, you learn and then pick the pieces together and move on. I don't think that the Democracy Hub actually was protesting on a wrong thing. It is something that UTAC had spoken about, labor unions have spoken about, and they have, chosen the way that they chose to go hit the streets. But one thing is that apart from, governments learning from some of these demonstrations, I think that the organization of demonstrations, is also very, very important. If you are a leader of a particular, demonstration, your organizations of it, how you are able to sit down probably with the security agencies and then make sure that the demonstration yield some positive results and does not really put people in danger is very important. My third point has to do with the attitude of the security agencies, against demonstrators. If you sit down as a professional for your institution to actually get instructions from the powers that be that this is what you must do, then obviously it wouldn't help the cause of this country. What I mean here is that professionalism is professionalism, and at a point in time I am believing that even our political leaders should allow institutions of state to work from a professional level without any form of dictating to them as to what they have to do. Now it gets to the point that, you see, I share in the view of the Democracy Hub, okay, that fine, you are dropping charges against us, but at least, if the law again can take its course, and then we are duly, discharged, that, okay, they were not at fault, after all, and that they didn't commit any crime. I think that would be very good for them. I remember the case of Chikata, lawyer Chikata, who was imprisoned, and when at the long run it was like, we are going to give you a presidential pardon, he said that no, I want the processes to continue so that I'll be fairly discharged, all right, without anybody raising a finger at me one day to say that you did this wrong, that was why you were imprisoned. So I think that point is clear. And you see, there's one thing about politics and our judicial system. I'm not a lawyer though, but I feel that there are certain things going on which is not good.
Which are? For
instance, I don't know whether it is as a result of political influences or whatever. It is not just about the Democracy Hub alone. I mean, when you look at the cases that have been dropped, okay, take the former Minister for Housing,
Collins Dauda. And then
you see, the former CEO for Cocoa Board, their cases were running for 8 years, 8 good years. So many questions to ask. One key question is that, were they at fault? Did they err based on the charges that were leveled against them? Okay. If they erred for 8 years, I don't know how the law court works, lawyer, but for 8 years, if the cases that were preferred against them were substantial enough, wouldn't they have been imprisoned? But, it has run for 8 years now. Now, a new government comes and says that I am dropping it. For me, I think that probably they could have speed up the process. And if it was going to be a case that, okay, they've not committed any wrong after all, then that is it, rather than just dropping the issues. All right. And I feel that our democracy is still growing. These are things that we should still be picking and then putting the pieces together and then learning from it.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bernard Tutubuain, thank you very much. Political marketing strategist, and then also commenting on the subjects based on his observation and, of course, his expertise. Thank you very much for passing through the studio. We hope that you become a mainstay very often. So do you come from Winneba here, or you are in Accra?
For this weekend, I was in...
You are in town?
I was in
Very good, very good. And then also, Mr. Suhini. Thank you, Hamza.
Thank you for having me. And now let me use this platform to at least congratulate my big brother on his nomination as Deputy Minister for Roads and Highways. I am pretty much convinced that he would once again discharge that role in a manner that would bring dignity to the family, most importantly, and of course to His Excellency President Mahama and the NDC and the Ghanaian people at large. I wish him all the best.
All right, so before I tell you what's up for Valentine, where you can spend that Valentine weekend from the Friday with your partner, let me also read a couple of messages which have been allowed. Ketsi Brenda Shadowdugan, great lady. Now from Landlord Borga D-Line, this minority wants to lose more of their seats instead of keeping mute and let things go so that Ghanaians will have the belief that they are reasonable and learning lessons. And I have this one also from Kojo Chumbuafo, says, please, may I kindly remind the MPP minute minority that the result of the Ablekuma North parliamentary seat is already known. It is the EC in conjunction with the MPP racketeers and brigands that wants the election result to be recollated until they win. I believe the word you want, apart from brigand, maybe brigade as well. And then Chris Ashaliboche says, when you see a snake, you kill it. You don't go around looking for a tape measure to measure it. Honorable Anodompre's behavior is despicable. His pronouncement on political issues is unacceptable. And Yao Boating from Ejusa says, Honorable Anodompre and the leadership of the minority really are doing a yeoman's job. You could see that with their numbers, they have no choice than to stand for us, the MPP faithful, and we are solidly behind them. Still, it is possible. Dr. Baumia, 2028. And Sampiyali, Ambassador Sampiyali says, just look at the NDC leadership in power. We noted with massive numbers in parliament, we needed to contain their effect with very mature and measured leadership under Mahama Yaruga. Can you imagine if the NDC had installed hot-headed leadership in parliament? Apinyamaki and Nodompre need strategic prayers, you say. Chief Mante Nakosombo says, you remember I sent you a message that before we elect a parliamentarian, they must be taken to the psychiatric hospital to check whether or not they are of sound mind. And then Nathaniel also says, now, Mani, good morning. He said, we copy the Western world system of governance, but we don't follow their principles. What Anon said, if it was in the UK, he would have resigned from parliament by now. That's the truth. Mani, you lived in the UK for some time before just came. And then Simon Agagna also sent a message. Nanama Pukia, good morning to you. Nathaniel as well. And then it's a birthday of Wisdom Lechu, and have a great happy birthday. I wish you all the best for the day as well. But we also have to tell you that Mr. Wisdom Lechu, as you celebrate your birthday, wait for the Valentine period. Take your wife as well as whoever you can for the Valentine's weekend with a romantic getaway to the beautiful Maha Beach Resort. This promotion is from the 14th to the 16th of February at only 3,100 Ghana cedis. It's bookable from now to the 13th and the morning of Valentine's Day itself. So stay for one night and get the second night for free in a standard room for one or two persons. And the package includes a dreamy room setup, romantic dinner on arrival with free mocktail, and then also breakfast, lunch, and dinner in addition. And on the second day, and breakfast on the last day before departure. Remember, you have a 15% discount on the spa service, which is available. Romantic movie at the cinema with free popcorn to add. There's free access to all in-house facilities. There's also an upgrade of room available on request with charges. Boat ride to the Maha Village available on request, and that one is for only 350 Ghana cedis per couple. There's the party bus ride with kebab and drinks and DJ also on board at 500 Ghana cedis. And remember, for all couples, terms and conditions also do apply. So the offer is available only when you book directly with the hotel. There's a 100% non-refundable payment, which is required to confirm the reservation. So make sure that your offer is bookable from now to the 13th of February, 2024. The bookings are strictly available only within the period stated, the 14th to the 16th of February, 2025, which is also subject to availability. Or just in case you want to do those bookings, you can do so. Please call the following line, 0303 977 or 05015700684 for more details and reservation. You can also email sm@maharesort.com/reservations. Remember, we have a conversation with Fifi Kwete, the General Secretary of the NDC, who will be coming in as well. Dr. Kova Segbefia and the rest who send their messages as well. You say that I'm always maintain that we are all in breach of the constitutional provision. That's why we should elect people who are of sound mind. We're taking a break. We'll be right back.